the first Standard Open with Oath of the Gatewatch. I am Cedric Phillips, joined in the booth by Patrick Sullivan, and we are about to watch Korey Mcduffie with the Tarka Red do battle against Christopher Brickey and Mono Green Eldrazi. 567 players did show up to Atlanta. These are the last two, and eventually there's only going to be one left walking out of here with $5,000, 30 SCG points, an invite to our first invitational in Columbus, and we believe it's going to be Korey.
Although Brickey being on the play is a huge deal.
That's very true. Number 3 overall seed begins things with a forest. For Mcduffie, a mountain and Monastery of Swiftspear, maybe the best starter's deck can have.
And I can see there's a Fiery Impulse in his hand as well, and already this spells trouble for Brickey. If his mana acceleration is on creatures, that's going to die, and Mcduffie with the best start that the deck has with a turn 1 Monastery of Swiftspear.
To Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. And now a Spatial Contortion to take care of the Monastery of Swiftspear. That's pretty important there for Brickey. Got to get these creatures off the battlefield. Perhaps Korey doesn't have any follow-up ones. A mountain. And now a Dragonfire, so he doesn't have one. He actually has two, as two 1/1 goblins will enter the battlefield.
Although fortunately here also for Brickey, Mcduffie's hand appears to be pretty land heavy.
Rattleclaw Mystic in Brickey's hand. He'll play a Crumbling Vestige, and it's a morph. And I think it'll be a dead morph here in just a moment.
The Rattleclaw Mystic is nice for Brickey to have in the matchup. I know that sounds a little silly given how many Fiery Impulses and Wild Slashes are in Mcduffie's deck. But in the event that it doesn't die, you bypass a lot of your need for ramp. You can go right to something big the next turn.
There's an Abbot of Carrow Keep. Let's see what the reveal is going to be for Korey. It'll be a Hordling Outburst, which looks like it'll be exiled for good. Mcduffie with a mountain. You mentioned Fiery Impulse. It'll be cast to take care of the Rattleclaw Mystic, and out here comes an attack for 2. Brickey will fall down to 17. Brickey will untap and draw. We're going to move to his 4th turn of the game.
I've often, most of the time when my opponent playing the starter deck has played Rattleclaw Mystic, I have been able to kill it because there's a lot of removal for it. But when you don't kill it, it's very bad news.
Yeah, it's a huge surge in mana.
Yeah, it's a huge boost. And any one of their big plays can be good enough depending on what it looks like. And Korey being a little land heavy right now, not really having much in the way of power cards in his hand, if he can't kill this Rattleclaw Mystic, he is sweating about it.
He'll sacrifice the Wooded Foothills, fall down to 19. I think we'll see a Cinderglade on the way, and we do. So that's the land of choice there for Mcduffie. What comes next, we'll see. Titan Strength along with Hordling Outburst in hand. And it looks like he'll start by playing a Hordling Outburst, so 3 more Goblins will enter the battlefield here in just a moment. That'll trigger prowess on the Abbot of Carrow Keep. So there are 3 Goblins. And it looks like a lot of people at home rooting for the red deck. And Korey Mcduffie, who will play a Titan Strength. Scry the top card to the bottom. The Goblin and the Titan Strength look like they're going to trade with Rattleclaw Mystic, and then 5 damage will come across. 2 prowess triggers, 2 base power for Abbot of Carrow Keep, and then 1 from the Goblin.
And Mcduffie's got to be thrilled with a block there.
Yeah.
You can respect Brickey wanting to block there because Mcduffie also had the mana and cards in the graveyard for Become Immense, and that might be too big of a hit to take. But Mcduffie certainly did not want Brickey to untap with that Rattleclaw Mystic.
Leaf Gilder, Nissa's Pilgrimage in hand here for Christopher, but he is so far behind this game and has no sweeper effect to catch up, and that's what makes this matchup so difficult for him. If it wasn't Mono Green Eldrazi and perhaps Green Red Eldrazi, the narrative would be a lot different here. Yep,
you would at least be Drawsing into Kozilek's Return. You'd at least be sideboarding into Radiant Flames, but this is a tough spot to come back from.
There is a Leaf Gilder, and a passing the turn back over to Mcduffie. Mcduffie will draw. Looks like he may have picked up a copy of a Tarkus Command.
That's it.
Yeah. So you've been here before, would you say?
I can't do the math exactly, but I know it's lethal. So it's 3 plus 1 for each unblocked creature. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I believe he's at 1 when all is said and done.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, he's at 1. And his mana creature's dead.
That's correct. So Christopher gets one more draw step. He'll scoop up his 3 lands.
Called it prematurely.
You did.
My apologies.
You did.
I thought it was lethal because it just always is, but even when it's not, it still is.
Korey Mcduffie does win game number 1 here over Christopher Brickey. A Tarka red up a game very quickly over Mono Green Eldrazi. And as we take a look at the sideboards here, Brickey does get a little bit of help here. 4 Jadi Offshoots, 4 Bane of Balaged, 2 Winds of Kalsisma, another copy of Spatial Contortion, an Ugin the Spirit Dragon, a Void Winnower, a Desolation Twin, and a World Breaker.
4 copies of Jadi Offshoot and 2 Winds of Kalsisma alongside the Spatial Contortion. The Fogs can be very good against Mcduffie because he's trying to win via pump spells. More early interaction in Spatial Contortion, and the 4 Jadi Offshoots gives Brickey some hope of blocking early on in the game and being able to get to his larger threats.
For Korey Mcduffie, 4 Self-Inflicted Wound, 3 Arc Lightning, 2 Smoldering Marsh, 2 Pia and Kieran Nalar, 2 Painful Truth, and 2 Den Protector. I
would probably shuffle up the same 60 and present. If Mcduffie doesn't want to do that, I can say bring in the Den Protectors as it has evasion from the early mana creatures and Jadi Offshoot. But I would be happy just shuffling up the same 60 here.
Yeah, we talked about how Korey has sideboarded in his full 15 quite a few times this week, and I just don't think it's necessary for this match.
The Self-Inflicted Wound is not bad. Brickey does have a lot of green creatures in the deck, but I do not think it is worth the cost of bringing the Smoldering Marshes and all the consequences of what that does to your mana. If Self-Inflicted Wound was a red or green card and he can cast it naturally, I would be on board with bringing in Self-Inflicted Wound, but I don't think that card is good enough to warrant the cost to bring in Smoldering Marsh.
Well, as these players do sideboard and shuffle up, we'll get ready here for game number 2, in which Christopher Brickey will be on the play again. But next weekend, we're going to be in Columbus for our Open. I'll be there playing. You will not be there, unfortunately. But Matthias Hunt, Ryan Overturf, and Ken Crocker will be bringing you the coverage of what looks to be a fantastic event. And you can find out more about that right now.
Join us on the SCG Tour January 30th through the 31st for the Columbus Open weekend. On Saturday, play in the Standard Open main event. Every competitor gets a playmat featuring kitchen links, plus our latest Invitational Winners token just for playing. The top 8 finishers earn a spot in an upcoming Invitational and get one step closer to the Players' Championship. On Sunday, it's your format, your tournament, as you choose between Modern and Legacy Classics. All participants get an Invitational Winners token, and the top 4 competitors in each Classic qualify for an Invitational. There's plenty more to do in Columbus. All weekend, play in side events and earn tickets to spend at the SCG Prize Wall. Between rounds, meet the weekend's special guest, Magic artist Ken Meyer Jr. And don't forget to tune into SCG Live as Matthias Hunt, Ryan Overturf, and Ken Crocker bring you coverage all weekend long. The Columbus Open weekend is January 30th through the 31st. Step into the spotlight.
SCG Columbus taking place January 30th and the 31st. Next weekend, again, Matthias Hunt, Ryan Overturf, and Ken Crocker bringing you all the coverage of that event. I'm going to be there playing, I believe, and I have no idea what I will be playing. It's Standard. I like a Tarka Red, but I feel like if Korey wins, and I feel like he's going to, people are going to be bringing the hate.
You know, we are on the cusp of back-to-back Week 1 Opens won by a Tarka Red.
Yeah. Brian DeMars in this one.
Yep.
So Brian DeMars' finish was unique to me because people just didn't see this build of a Tarka Red coming with Teamer Battle Rage and Become Immense. This go-around is really odd to me because a Tarka Red didn't really get anything new outside of Reckless Bushwhacker. And, you look at all the other cards that are going around in this tournament and from Oath of the Gatewatch have an effect on things, and almost none of them have an effect on red, and actually some of them make red even worse, like Kozilek's Return and Flaying Tendrils, yet here we are.
Well, I think that Mcduffie's deck, even though it's pretty close to the Tarka Red list we've seen in the past, it represents a pretty big step forward. The removal of Teamer Battle Rage and the addition of Reckless Bushwhackers makes this deck, I think, a lot different and probably a lot more consistent as well.
I like it. I mean, I'm really drawn to Dragon Fodder and Hordeling Outburst in combination with the Tarkus Command. I've always loved going wide with that card. I was never a huge fan of the combo with the deck. It felt like a great thing for Brian DeMars to be doing because he just caught everyone off guard with it. No one knew how to play around it. Most people didn't even know it was coming. So it was great for those weekends. And then afterward, I think a lot of players built their decks with the combo in mind. I felt the deck just really fell off a cliff.
And a lot of credit, I'm sure, goes to Mcduffie's sideboard as well. You know, when I was playing this deck, a lot of times my philosophy for the post-board games was, I hope they don't draw Radiant Flames, or they got to draw Radiant Flames 2 times in 2 games. With Mcduffie's sideboard of Den Protector and Painful Truths and P.A. Kieran Nalar, he can just hang around with those kind of cards. He can become a much bigger deck with a lot more card advantage, a lot more staying power. So instead of the old builds of a Tarka Red, where you had to cross your fingers and hope not to play against that many copies of Radiant Flames, Mcduffie can hang around with those cards. And if people are really leaning on Kozilek's Return and Flaying Tendrils, as you mentioned, Mcduffie has sideboard options to become a deck that's a lot less vulnerable to those cards. He has to slow down. It's not like it comes with no cost. But if he's worried about those kind of cards, his sideboard lets him go in a completely different direction.
I will say, the nice thing is there's just so many different ways to go in the standard format. There are decks like Mardu Green and Abzan Blue and Abzan Aggro, 4-color Rally, which is obviously very powerful in our most played deck here in day number 2 of competition. So there's a lot of options out there. And even Esper Dragons that Brad Nelson played this weekend, I felt it was a pretty well-positioned deck in the format, even though a lot of people don't really talk about it very much. So I don't know what the best deck is, but I also think that makes for an awesome format because there's probably no best deck right now at all.
I think that no matter what kind of deck you want to play, there is a legitimate option. You like to beat down, you like mid-range creatures and removal, you like control decks, you like ramping, you like counter spells. There's something out there for you that with sufficient reps and metagaming for the right matchups, you can have a successful tournament. I do have some critiques of the format. A lot of it revolves around mana, but if you're looking for just how many decks are there, what options are afforded to players, this is a great standard format.
Both players going to take a look at their opening hand here. Christopher Brickey will be on the play to begin things. It's an uphill climb for him, but it looks like he's going to keep his opening hand. We'll see if Korey Mcduffie will do the same.
What's nice about this matchup also for Mcduffie, I often felt like I had to keep in copies of Wild Slash in against this deck as an answer to Winds of Kalisysma. They had it, because with Ferocious you can fizzle a fog effect.
Yep.
Brickey is just bringing shock targets to the table. So it's easy to leave in your Wild Slashes.
A mountain here for Mcduffie and just a passing of the turn. No turn 1 play for him. A Shrine of the Forsaken Gods for Brickey is his turn 2 play. Reckless Bushwhacker, the draw there for Mcduffie.
And it looks like Mcduffie has brought in his copies of Self-Inflicted Wound.
Makes me curious on what he sideboarded out then.
I have not been a huge fan of Hordeling Outburst in the matchup, though a lot of that is a consequence of sweepers, and Brickey is not playing with any of that.
Another mountain just passing the turn there from Korey. So not a great start. There's Jolly Offshoot. A Sanctum of Ugin. And a little bit of life gain here.
But now, Self-Inflicted Wound, ready to go.
It does look good now. And there are a lot of good green cards to kill after sideboard.
Like I said, it's not a critique of the power level of Self-Inflicted Wound. Just bringing in the Smoldering Marshes is a pretty big cost in terms of what it can do to your curve, how many of your lands enter the battlefield tapped, and I don't think the green cards are so good that it's worth that kind of cost. But here, if he's able to fetch for his Smoldering Marsh, looks solid.
Well, Wooded Foothills in hand, so it appears that he can. And he will sacrifice Wooded Foothills. So down to 19 goes Mcduffie. Smoldering Marsh is here. And looks like a Self-Inflicted Wound's on the way as well. That'll take care of the offshoot, and it will stop the life gain. It'll actually deal Brickey a little bit of damage as well. So let's go over to Christopher Brickey. And does he have any ramp now? He's got a Thought-Knot Seer, no ramp.
Nothing wrong with Thought-Knot Seer, though.
Not at all.
If the game calls for offense or defense.
It looks like Korey's brought in the Arc Lightnings, too. I guess there's a lot of targets for that. It also just kills Offshoot straight up.
This is a different approach than the one I would have took.
Yeah.
I understand wanting the cards that Mcduffie has brought in, but I think that his linear plan is so powerful because Brickey has no sweepers that I would not have deviated from it.
The hand here for Mcduffie is a Wild Slash, a Reckless Bushwhacker, Arc Lightning, Den Protector, a Mountain, and a Cinderglade. The red-green Battleland.
I guess the most likely take here is Den Protector. Game's kind of on a slow pace. Okay.
It'll be Arc Lightning.
Yeah, that's fine too. There's no obvious take in that hand.
We'll go over to Korey now. Picked up a Mountain, I believe. Pretty land heavy here. A 4/4 does a nice job of both stabilizing things and giving Brickey a way to close out the game pretty quickly.
Yes.
Especially if another one shows up.
This is going to – Thought Not Seer is a great card in this kind of matchup because there's going to be a lot of times where a 4/4 is just substantially bigger than anything on the other side of the table, and there's going to be one card that allows them to punch through a 4/4, whether it's a Tarka's Command or Titan Strength or Become Immense. So getting the information on what's going in their hand, stripping out their one way to get a 4/4 off the table, and then having the biggest thing in play, that's a very good mixture of cards against a Tarka Red.
Mcduffie's thinking Reckless Bushwhacker here. See, Brickey's going to take a look. We can do the same. It's a 2-1 haster.
Less powerful in this spot than we've seen it at other times over the weekend.
He's got to get something on the board.
Needs a buddy.
Yep.
Typically needs a buddy.
That is Titan's Presence with the Bane of Balaget as the reveal. Well, sometimes you got to get creative.
Yep. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about this against a token strategy, but
when the matchup is as bad as it is for Brickey,
yeah, sure.
You got to try some stuff. That's for sure. It's an attack for 4. I believe Mcduffie will fall down to 15. Did not expect to see Bane of Balaget come in.
That's definitely made its Open Series debut just now.
Yeah, that's a first. That's a first. Might be a last. Unclear. Mcduffie curious about how many cards Brickey has in his hand. He knows one of them.
Yes. It's coming.
Yeah. Maybe. Eventually. There's a mountain. Looks like a Monastery Swift Spear going to be played here. As that was Mcduffie's draw for the turn. So there's the 1-2 with haste. I'm just going to pass the turn back. I guess the plan is to trade a Wild Slash and a Swift Spear with the Thought Not Seer and then get a card afterward.
It's a tough way to do it because Brickey just has the option of saying go, not giving you that chance.
Or just play another Titan's Presence.
It's coming.
Yeah. Revealing Bane of Balaget again. And another attack for 4. Mcduffie's going to fall to 11.
So, Thought Not Seer has been compared to Vendilion Click a lot for obvious reasons. There's a lot of parallels in the design. This is one type of matchup where Thought Not Seer is a whole lot better than Vendilion Click because this thing is never dying.
Yeah.
They're never going to get the card.
Yeah. This thing is enormous. All right, now it looks like it's time for a morph, which everyone in the building knows is Den Protector. So down that goes.
Well, this gives Mcduffie the hope of getting the same line that you mentioned last turn, where he gets to trade, shock, and use the Den Protector to either get back the Wild Slash or the Self-Inflicted Wound.
Pass that turn back. And this is Pilgrimage with Spell Mastery because of 2 Titans Presence. Heyo.
It's coming.
Yeah. Bane of Balaget it's going to come.
Before, merely a hypothetical. Now, a reality.
Indeed. Couple of forests.
I'm going to go back to what I said before. I do not think Mcduffie should be deviating from the core strategy.
His deck just is nowhere near as aggressive now.
I think that trying to hang around in a long game with mono green Eldrazi is impossible. And maybe when he's on the play for game 3, we're going to see him kind of go back to the original configuration. But this has been my concern going into the late game here is the Self-Inflicted Wound hasn't amounted to much. The Den Protector, what's it getting back here? and he just lacks the aggression to put enough pressure before Brickey starts deploying some very powerful cards.
I'm okay with self-inflicted wound. I just don't want to play a Den Protector type game against this deck. This deck wants to get paired against Den Protector decks.
Yep. I think Mcduffie would have been better served just shuffling the same 60.
Yeah. So now Christopher Brickey has got plenty of mana to work with. His Shrine is turned on. Life is pretty good for the mono green Eldrazi player.
He can just hang back on D. He's at 19 life. And he does not have to worry about Become Immense Team or Battle Rage, because that's not in Mcduffie's deck.
Two Wild Slashes Become Immense. That's the grip right now.
It's not a bad hand. You can Wild Slash the Thought-Knot Seer twice, get a card for his trouble. He's got the Become Immense to punch through the Bait and a Balagad next turn, hopefully. And you have a Den Protector, which synergizes very nicely with a bunch of pump effects. So there's a route here.
A Wild Slash resolved. Now here comes the second one. So now Korey gets to draw. Picked up a Smoldering Marsh. Curious how many lands he has in his deck after sideboard too.
This is another cost of the Smoldering Marsh right here. Is McDuffie's almost in, he can set up some sort of, Den Protector, Become Immense it, get back my Become Immense, do it again sort of deal, but he's only got the 1 green mana.
Here's an attack for at least 2. It'll only be 2. And now Brickey will fall down to only 17. And there's a Smoldering Marsh, pass the turn back. Brickey gonna untap all that mana. He'll draw a card, it's a forest. We know that Bane of Balagad is in hand.
There was a different route for Mcduffie to take that turn, I think, where he could have just cast Become Immense and hit for 8, untap, and hope that he draws a green source where he can get back the Become Immense and Become Immense's Den Protector. That line of play might be too risky against Winds of Kalisisma. If he gets fogged on that attack,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
really bad news. But just there's a lot of different routes once Den Protector gets involved in the mix. The problem is with the Sanctum of Ugins, I don't think it's acceptable for Mcduffie to, all right, I'm going to use this pump spell to trade with Bane of Balagad, because there's just going to be this cascading row of large creatures coming, most likely, and punching through the first one is not going to be enough.
Yeah, I think that's just off the table, personally. I think what Korey has to do to win this game is unmegamorph Den Protector, get back something, maybe just Wild Slash, and start working the Become Immense train here. So he'll untap. 3-power creature, draw a card, another land there in Wooded Foothills.
It's possible. Now, it would have gotten blown up by Winds of Kalisisma, so that's in hand, but that was the green source to set up the Become Immense over 2 turns line.
Going to delve away some cards. Going to leave Wild Slash in the graveyard just in case he draws a Den Protector. There is Become Immense. This is going to make the Den Protector too large to even be blocked by Bane of Balagad. So this is an attack for 9. Brickey wants to make sure he knows exactly what Den Protector does do, but it's much too large to be blocked right now. So he'll take that damage. He'll fall down to 8. And now a top deck Become Immense would be lethal. Also worth noting is that if Bane of Balagad does attack, Mcduffie does have to sacrifice 2 permanents, and that makes the delving a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's kind of free for delve cards. He's down the 2 lands, but he's up 2 cards in the graveyard.
There's a forest.
Oof.
And this is What?
And this is renewal.
Renewal?
Yeah, that's a brutal one here. That's a pretty large cushion.
That's gain 7? Well, I play this one in limited sometimes. This might be lights out.
Yeah, this is a lot of life here.
Yeah. Ah, yes, I like getting a waste. Mm-hmm. A little spice. Their waste debut here on SCG Live. Very nice. Just good deck building.
And now it's time for Bane.
Mm-hmm. Like Batman's Bane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not time for Bane.
hanging back.
I suppose Korey's punishment must be more severe. As here's a dragon fodder. 2 goblins. He'll just pass a turn back. I think there's another Bane.
Offense, defense. A little bit of both.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Little column A, column B.
Yeah. Ah, yes. Here we are. Down go 2 mountains. Just what I've always wanted is Bane of Balaget is attacking and constructed.
That is a gorgeous red zone right now.
Yes, it is. I'm not quite sure what Korey's supposed to do here.
He can block with Den Protector and Wild Slash, get it off the table, or he can try to play on and build a board. Neither route seems great.
No, not really. Also, that thing attacks for 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Korey is probably drawing to about nothing here.
Den Protector's going to block. Wild Slash in hand. They can tag up to take care of that thing. But if 1's good, 2's better. Boom. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What's this? Okay. Okay, trigger. It's not quite chaining World Breakers, but chaining Bane of Balaget.
Whatever Balaget is in trouble.
Yeah. He's gonna pick him up. That's Christopher Brickey.
And Brickey not giving him anything. No smiles.
Nothing.
Just how it drew it up.
Absolutely. Christopher Brickey going to win game number 2 here over Korey Mcduffie. Mono Green Eldrazi, Tarka Red going to get ready here for game number 3. And I'm with you. If I'm Korey, let's get this garbage out of my deck.
No Den Protector, no Self-Inflicted Wound, no Smoldering Marshes, no Piakinular, no Arc Lightning, nothing.
None of it.
None of that. None of that.
I want to just normalize my deck.
Get your 60 main deck cards in.
I just don't think he needs any of this stuff. I think he's just supposed to kill Christopher by turn 5.
Yeah.
That's it. I think he's just making it, in my opinion, a little too complicated.
When the game went long there, Mcduffie was eventually defeated by far the worst Eldrazi in Brickey's deck. He cannot play that sort of game.
Well, these players will shuffle up, and you can see Korey's going back to the drawing board here. Not sure if he's going to move those cards in or out or what have you, but we'll find out soon enough once game number 3 does begin. Next weekend in Columbus, that's when you can get Caleb Shear's token. Caleb Shear, of course, did win our Season 4 Invitational in Las Vegas. A heck of a run there, beating Fidianto Wajai in the finals. And right now he's number 2 on our Season 1 leaderboard, so he is in great position to head back to the Players' Championship. Now, if you want to know other ways to go about getting this token, all open participants, all classic participants, and all orders from StarCityGames.com beginning January 29th at noon Eastern Time. $5 minimum order on that day. Caleb Shear's Storm token. Congratulations to him on a heck of a run there in Vegas.
Yeah, and especially given the implications for the Players' Championship, him coming just a little bit short towards the end of the year and then just winning the Season 4 Invitational instead. Great cap to a great year for Caleb.
See both players taking a look at each other's deck list here. Now, of course, what's on the line for these two players as we take a look at our prize slide here? Well, first place, whoever does win this last game, it's a pretty expensive game, $3,000 one. As first place is $5,000, 30 SCG points, an invite to our first invitational in Columbus. Whoever loses, well, they'll walk out with $2,000, 25 SCG points, and invite to our first invitational in Columbus. So they've certainly locked up the invite. Now they're just trying to lock up some more SCG points and some more money.
And we are early enough into season 1 here where the winner of this, and honestly both players, can justify making a push here. It's not like the race has gotten so far out of hand where, you know, even if you're starting from scratch, a win here, you could make a push.
I guess that's what that weekend is for. We'll see who's going to come out to Columbus. Keep making the push, as you said. For season 1, get to the Players' Championship. Head to the Star City Game Center in Roanoke, Virginia at the end of the year. And that tournament's always a blast. And you know Caleb wants to go back, and Joe Lissette, and everybody who was there last year. The only person we know who will be there this year is Jim Davis.
Yes, defending champion.
That's right. DJJD.
Number 84.
And I think we might be seeing him a little bit more here during season 1. I think he's got some plans for coming out to Columbus next weekend. But I think the snowstorm, he decided to stay in Long Island.
Fine choice.
Yeah. Danny Jessup and co., they made the trip. And Danny Jessup, well, his flight has been postponed until Tuesday. As far as traveling stories go, Danny's had it pretty bad over the past year. He's had a lot of canceled flights.
Snowed in, waylaid, randomly canceled for no reason.
Yeah.
Got the whole spectrum of bad experiences flying around.
Yeah, if you follow him on social media, he's had it tough. He's had it tough. You see Christopher, he's all business. He's ready to go.
So great there for Mcduffie to be flooding out him, Brickey there to cast those Titans presences. Like, you know how this is going to end, right?
Yep.
We both know it's a matter of land drops and me stabilizing the game here, but it's going to end one way.
Yeah, where is Balaget exactly? Well, it probably doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Assuming based on the design of that card that it was a town or city or area that was run afoul by the Eldrazi and no longer exists.
It got ugly out there. Apparently, Balaget is just a place on Zendikar.
Sure.
Well, it was a place on Zendikar. It's I wouldn't say it is anymore. But I bet it was nice while it was still there.
We'll never know. Neither will Korey.
Yeah. Game number 3 about to be underway here. Our last game from Atlanta. All the classics are in the books. Todd Anderson was able to make the top 8 of the Modern Classic. Jerry Thompson, Joe Lissette with a great run in our Standard Open. And now Korey Mcduffie, Christopher Brickey battled out one last time here in game number 3. Mcduffie with just a mountain passes the turn. Painful Truths the draw.
So that means that Mcduffie has stayed true to the long game plan here, also with self-inflicted wound in hand.
I think he may have a copy of Arc Lightning as well.
I'm just struggling to think of the cards that have been boarded out in this configuration. He's sideboarded in so much.
Yeah. He's going to search up a basic forest. Hey, we'll end up seeing how this game plays out, of course, but this just feels like a misassignment of role.
Well, with Mcduffie on the play here, if he goes turn 2 Dragon Fodder, turn 3 Painful Truths, it could still be an acceptable opening. It's just, as I mentioned, not where I want to be in the matchup.
Yeah. There's a Shrine and a passing of the turn there from Brickey. We'll head back Mcduffie's way. He'll draw. Abbot of Carroll Keep. There's a Wooded Foothills. Here's an attack for 2. Now there's Wooded Foothills. So sacrifice that. Fall down to 18. And we might have a Painful Truth on the way here in just a moment.
Fortunately for Mcduffie, his mana has cooperated thus far, with
Yep.
2 fetch lands allowing him to get his mana fixed, play everything on time so far. His list's a little bit lighter on fetch lands than usual, no copies of Windswept Heath, so
Yeah, 8 fetches in the deck.
this is fortunate for him to get off the ground running, although I would imagine at this point he's at 24 lands in his deck, so.
Looks like the truths may be painful here in just a moment. And they are. It'll be for 3. Mcduffie will fall down at 15, but hey, his life total doesn't matter.
Yep. I guess this is my issue with this plan is Brickey's plan. Painful Truths is really nice in matchups where the plan is I'm going to kill all your stuff. I'm going to try to, run you down and sweep your board and all that kind of stuff. Drawing cards is powerful there. Brickey's plan is get the game into a state where I invalidate everything that you do. And the extra cards in your hand don't matter a whole lot once the game's gotten to that point.
Brickey with just a forest, no pass. Titan Strength to draw here. Curious to see where Korey's going to go here.
Well, it looks like he has a Bushwhacker in hand and an Abbot, so he can set that up if he wants it.
Oh, that's a pretty nice turn. All right, trigger. Wild Slash. I wonder if you let the Bushwhacker go now, because you don't want to just let the 2 damage go from Wild Slash.
It's not so much an issue of the 2 damage. I think that the Bushwhacker is still more attractive regardless. It's the issue of Winds of Kalisysma. If he plays Reckless Bushwhacker and gets fogged, he's way behind in development, especially if Brickey untaps and has something like Explosive Vegetations.
Sure.
And Mcduffie's hand is filled with cheap enough stuff where if Brickey ever puts the shields down, he'll have other opportunities to Reckless Bushwhacker. Remember, McDuffie's board's not going anywhere.
Yep. Here's an attack for 2.
He doesn't have to worry about getting in while the getting's good before something like Kozilek's return occurs. So he can kind of wait for Brickey to put the shields down before committing.
Yeah, the only removal spell that Brickey has is Titan's Presence.
Right.
That's it. So.
Yeah. Nothing to be too concerned about in terms of your plan to go wide.
So the attack for 2 does work. Brickey going to fall down to 16. There is the Wild Slash.
Dong.
Glad to see you.
Bong.
Glad to see you approve. What do we have here? Titan's Presence? Yep. Reveal Thought Not Seer. I love it.
Oh, nice.
Exile target creature if its power is less than or equal to the revealed card's power. Titan Strength is going to counter the Titan's Presence.
That's nice.
That is very nice. Christopher going to take his turn. We've just been informed via the Anderson Shuffle, or whatever the heck that was, that Todd Anderson has won the Modern. He's doing it again. Todd Anderson has won the Modern Classic here. So 15 SCG points headed his way. Congratulations to him. And oh my God.
Oh, the world. First the Patriots lose, and now more news proving that the universe can still be a decent place sometimes. The legacy winner. I'll let you take this one.
This is. Hold on. Thought Not Seer. Who cares about Thought Not Seer?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Goblins won the Legacy Open.
Goblins.
Are you kidding
the
me?
The last decent deck left.
How mana screwed did his opponent get every round? That's the only way.
The last honest deck left on the planet.
Yes.
The last one.
Legacy Classic Goblins champion. Oh. Atlanta is so good.
Yeah.
Thought Not Seer is going to take Wild Slash.
That is disappointing.
It is. Going to make it hard to get through that thing.
I think Mcduffie has left a Become Immense on top of the deck. So
that's a good card.
Yeah.
Mcduffie will draw. Maybe. Yeah, he drew Become Immense.
Yeah, that was left on top of the deck from the Titan Strength the previous turn.
Got it. Oh, yes, goblins. Yes! Let's see what comes next here for Mcduffie.
So if the question is, am I going to use red spells to finish off the Thought-Knot Seer, or am I going to try to pump past it? I would err on the side of using a pump spell, leave the burn spells back. One, to potentially handle future threats down the line, but second, because of Winds of Kalsizma. Combat is not a guarantee to work for Mcduffie. I suppose if he has a Wild Slash, he can then be able to set that up. But
yeah,
if
but
he doesn't,
just got taken.
Exactly. If he doesn't have it, then I think I like just trying to use the pump spells to get the Eldrazi out the table, leave the burn spells to finish out the game. Now, it's a little bit more complicated than that because Become Immense does a lot more damage than Arc Lightning. But if you think that you can put on sufficient pressure, leave the red spells back, get the green spells out of your hand.
Here come the Knuckleheads. Dragonfighter was cast pre-combat. And now we'll see how Brickey wants to block, assuming that he does, which I can't imagine that he doesn't. So Abbott will be blocked, and I think we'll see Become Immense on an unblocked Goblin.
Yeah, now this is the best of both worlds here for Mcduffie because he still gets Become Immense to deal the full 6 points of damage, and he gets to get the Thought-Knot Seer off the table, and once that happens, he gets to draw a card for his trouble as well.
Now, so here is the Become Immense. Going to delve away a bunch of cards here with Mcduffie. So a healthy amount of damage is going to come through. Abbott will trade with the Thought-Knot Seer, and that also means that Mcduffie gets to draw a card.
Yeah, this is a very good turn here for Mcduffie.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, for Christopher Brickey, he hasn't cast any ramp spells. He's just playing an honest game.
Yeah, Titan Strength into Thought-Knot Seer. I don't think this is going to be enough resistance.
I don't think so either. So we'll see an exchange of resources here in just a moment, and then Mcduffie will get the opportunity to draw a card from the Thought-Knot Seer.
Yeah, should be 8 points of damage coming across here. It's just the 2 unblocked goblins plus the Become Immense.
Yeah.
Abbott's going to trade off with Thought-Knot Seer because there's been 2 prowess triggers so far this turn. Mcduffie will draw a card. Brickey should be at 6.
6, yep.
And life will go on, is my understanding of the situation.
I believe you've understood it correctly, as Mcduffie will draw. Picked up a Monastery Swiftspear, and now we head back Christopher Brickey's way. I think he may have just drawn another copy of Thought-Knot Seer. And I think Brickey made a pretty nice metagame call for the weekend. There was not a lot of Tarka Red in day number 2. And it did not feel like there was a lot of Tarka Red here, but he's just run into it at the worst possible time.
All right, there's 100 of the 122, 27 players. I think we had 9 copies of Tarka Red.
Yeah.
And something in the neighborhood of 7% of the metagame. If you knew that number coming in, Mono Green Eldrazi is a great choice. Very good against the mid-range decks, but he's running into one of the 9.
There's a Hedron Archive. That might be his last play of the tournament. Can't even cast Winds of Kalsizma off of that mana, as Mcduffie will draw a copy of Arc Lightning. Here's a Monastery Swiftspear. That's an Arc Lightning for a prowess trigger. That's going to go upstairs. And that's going to get the job done. Korey Mcduffie is going to win this match here over Christopher Brickey. 2-1. Tarka Red will take care of Mono Green Eldrazi, and he is your champion here in Atlanta. Congratulations to Korey Mcduffie.
And you can hear a lot of hometown love in the background. Mcduffie, an Atlanta native player who's played on some pro tours and very well liked in this area. Always nice to see the local players do well.
Absolutely. So congratulations to Korey Mcduffie. $5,000, 30 SCG points, an invite to our Season 1 Invitational. What a weekend here for him, and what a weekend for a lot of players this weekend, where we saw Oath of the Gatewatch in its release, and it looks like he's getting a big hug from his friend there for his victory. And putting a Tarka Red back on the map as well is a viable option in this format.